Fallujah, Iraq, November 2004. The city smelled of smoke, concrete dust, and fear. Corporal James "Jimmy" Alvarez had stopped trying to wash it out of his uniform. No matter how much water he used, war stayed stitched into the fabric. Jimmy was 24, a Marine from El Paso, Texas. Before the war, his biggest worry had been fixing his father's old pickup truck and saving money to marry his high school sweetheart, Rosa. Now his world was reduced to a rifle, a radio, and the men beside him. The orders were clear: clear the block, house by house. Nothing about it felt clear. Fallujah was quiet in the way only a city at war could be. Too quiet. Doors were blown open, walls scarred with bullet holes, prayer rugs abandoned mid-room. Every step felt like an invitation to death. "Stay sharp," Sergeant Miller whispered. They moved slowly, boots crunching over broken glass. Jimmy's heart pounded so loud he was sure the enemy could hear it. He remembered Rosa's last words on the phone. "Come back to me. Just come back." In the third house, everything went wrong. The door burst inward, a flash, a deafening blast. Jimmy was thrown against the wall, his ears ringing, his vision swimming. When he looked up, he saw blood, too much blood. Lance Corporal Davis lay on the floor, screaming, his leg torn apart by shrapnel. "Doc! Doc!" someone yelled. Gunfire erupted from the next room. The squad returned fire, bullets ripping through plaster and furniture. Jimmy crawled to Davis, pressing his hands against the wound, feeling the warmth seep through his gloves. "Don't let me die, man, please," Davis cried. "You're not dying, you hear me? You're not." The medic was pinned down. The radio crackled with chaos. Outside, tanks roared, and explosions shook the building. Jimmy knew what he had to do before anyone said it. "I'm moving him," he shouted. "Negative," Sergeant Miller yelled. "Too hot." Jimmy didn't wait. He grabbed Davis under the arms and dragged him toward the back door. Bullets snapped past them, chewing into the walls. Pain ripped through Jimmy's shoulder, but he didn't stop. He didn't feel heroic, only terrified of losing another friend. They made it outside just as a medic reached them. Jimmy collapsed to the ground, breathing hard, blood soaking his sleeve, his own and Davis's. Later, after the block was secured, Jimmy sat against a wall, shaking. His hands wouldn't stop trembling. Sergeant Miller sat beside him, silent for a long moment. "You saved his life," the sergeant said. Jimmy stared at the dust-covered street. "I just didn't want to watch him die." That night, Jimmy couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the explosion, heard Davis screaming. He pulled out a folded piece of paper from his pocket, Rose's letter, worn soft from rereading. "I pray for you every night," it said. "No matter what happens, remember who you are." 2 weeks later, Jimmy was wounded by an IED during a patrol. He survived, but his war ended there. Back home, the silence was different, too calm, too empty. Fireworks made him flinch, sirens made his chest tighten. Sometimes he woke up gasping, convinced he was still in Fallujah. One day, a letter arrived. It was from Davis. "They told me I wouldn't walk again," it read. "They were wrong. Physical therapy's hell, but I'm alive because of you. I get to see my daughter grow up. Thank you, brother." Jimmy folded the letter carefully, his eyes burning. Years later, when people asked him about the war, Jimmy never talked about politics or victories. He talked about dust, fear, and carrying a wounded friend through gunfire. And he always said the same thing: war doesn't make heroes. It shows you who you're willing to bleed for.